Hey, hey, hey. Hope everybody's having a good night tonight. Hope you had a good weekend wherever you are. Hopefully enjoying a little bit of cool weather. It's been hot here in Massachusetts. Today we're talking about HOAs. And those HOAs, a lot of HOAs, depending on where you are in the country. There are a lot of HOAs, especially down in the southern regions. And they're doing some pretty unscrupulous stuff. They're foreclosing on people for not paying their HOA fees. It's bonkers. So I was reading this. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she mentioned it, and I said that can't be true. So I looked into it, and I've got some articles. So I wanted to talk about it, so we're going to do that. We're going to dig in some comments. I got some great questions this week from my comments on the couple videos we've got that I posted the last couple weeks. So we're going to dig into those comments a little bit later. And so if you're joining us, just jump in the chat and let's go. But on the HOA thing, the friend that I was talking about is the friend that I actually am going to bring on, who is pretty well versed in that stuff, pretty well versed in the affordable housing industry, has been kicking around YouTube for a couple minutes. But I'm super psyched because I've been wanting to get her on this live stream for a while. So you know what? Let's just get on with it and let's bring her on. Let's go, Christina Smallhorn.
Hi. Hi, friend.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Yeah, I normally am like Tuesdays are crazy because I'm trying to get my video out. But this week I'm working on a thumbnail course for real estate agents. So I'm a little bit more relaxed instead of being real keyed up about getting a video released. So
never a moment.
You could have had more perfect timing, by the way, because that's what my video is about. It's filmed. I just need to edit it. My video is about HOAs.
I know that, and I know you talked a lot about that on your channel, and so you've got some good insight that I think my folks, the people that watch this, my community will enjoy. Because there's a lot of condo owners out there. There's a lot of single family owners, communities that have adopted these HOAs, and we don't see them as up here in the Northeast as much, but they are starting to rear their ugly head as these developers are coming in and they're building new communities.
Right.
All of a sudden, that's $100 a month, it's $200 a month because they want to maintain the grounds and all the things. So the fact that they can foreclose on people is bonkers. So do you want to just get right into it? Because I got an article.
Yeah. So one thing I just want to point out is that usually when a builder will start a community and they want it under an HOA so that when the new people move in, they maintain that neighborhood for all the other houses that are continuing to be built. They don't want anybody to let their yards go to the wayside, because then that brings down their property value. So that's why the builders enact a HOA at the beginning. But once those covenants are filed, you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck.
Yeah, unless the homeowners can get control of that HOA and make some good decisions about how that HOA is run. Because I know up here, anyways, once the community is done, it's completed, the builder hands the ownership, that HOA back over to the homeowners, and they can either outsource it to an HOA company or they can self-manage. So is it that way down the southern states as well, or?
No, it's immediately turned over to the management company that was taken over. So the builder finishes up that last house,
yep,
and then it goes over to that management company, and then all the community has to get together and then make a decision. Most of the time, though, they're like, most people want to stay hands off because they're like, I don't want to hate my neighbors, so they hire a management company, and that's where the trouble comes in.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Well, I came across this article. I came across this article about this woman in Georgia, and I'm pretty sure you've probably seen this article, but I just couldn't believe that something like this could even exist, because it was just it's kind of outlandish. So totally insane. Georgia homeowners share horror stories of HOAs abusing power with excessive fees and home foreclosures. So this woman Karen Gibbons says homeowner associations have come under fire in Georgia for abusing homeowners with excessive fees and foreclosures. None of this makes sense, says Karen Gibbons, who received a foreclosure notice from her HOA in Gwinnett County.
Gwinnett. It's Gwinnett County.
Gwinnett. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, Christina.
I used to live in Georgia. That's the only reason I know that.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's good. You come from a good place of knowledge.
Yeah.
For allegedly skipping her monthly dues. Let's see, Gibbons told Channel 2 investigators that she mailed a check every month to the address she was provided at closing, but she soon noticed that random activity around when her checks were cashed, noting that sometimes it took months. Those delays, this is just blew my mind. Those delays ended up costing Gibbons her home. Let that thing sink in for a second, right? Those delays ended up costing her her home. Out of the blue, she received a notice of foreclosure by her HOA, plus $34,000 in late fees, interest charges, and ultimately attorney's fees. Gibbons is one of the many homeowners and condos, many home and condo owners, blah, 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 in the state, embroiled in a similar wrestling match with an HOA. The situation has grown so dire that local lawmakers plan to refile legislation that would prevent people from losing their homes due to unpaid HOA fees. I mean, it's just bonkers.
It gets like, the thing is that what people need to understand is that management companies don't make money off the dues that you pay through your HOA. So let's just say your HOA is $150 a month, so that's how that's just a standard fee just for, normal bookkeeping and everything else. When the management company makes the money is by charging you guys those late fees, first off. Secondly, of all the other like you left your garage door those infractions against the HOA, those fees they make a lot of money on. And shockingly enough, a lot of HOAs are run by, guess what? Private equity.
Oh, you love that. You love that stuff. That's like the evil. That's like the evil villain in the movies. Really,
it really is. Honestly, and the more you dig back those layers like an onion, I mean, it stinks. It stinks really bad. They're in everything. Private equity is in everything.
Ugh, exactly. The article goes on to say, and this is just kind of, I had to read this 4 times because I said, this can't be true. It says that Tricia Quigley's Cherokee County home was sold at foreclosure for $3.25 after she failed to pay 2 of her biannual HOA payments totaling $800. Quigley claimed that she paid more than $10,000 to try and set things right with the HOA, but that did little to keep up with the bill, which kept growing due to penalties and attorney's fees. It says it's totally insane. I kept thinking I paid all this money. How come it's not stopping? And then another homeowner, James McAdoo, a homeowner in South Fulton County, claimed the HOA garnished his wages. Were they the IRS?
They have a lot of power. So it's different for each state, the amount of power they have, but they basically run like little governments within that subdivision. So every single HOA is run a little bit differently, but because your local town, city, county doesn't want to maintain and get after people, they don't want to have to deal with the trash. They don't want to have to deal with the water in that specific community. They tell the HOAs to run it. And since they're self-governing with any very little oversight, they're allowed to do whatever they want, honestly.
Which is scary.
Yeah.
It's scary, which is how they got to this point. It says they were taking $600 from his paycheck every 2 weeks to cover a mounting $36,000 bill because of weeds in his front lawn.
Yep. And then, if let's just say something happened to a loved one in your family and they passed away, and of course the yard gets too too long, right?
Yep.
That community will pay for a company to come out to mow the lawn, but they're not charging, the normal, like, let's just say $350, because it's a really high and it needs a lot of work. They're going to be charging you like $3,000 just because they can.
Well, it's the attorney's fees, right? A lot of it is going to be the attorney's fees which I have another article about, what is actually happening with legislation that a lot of these counties are trying to pass, a lot of these states are trying to pass to kind of circumvent this from just absolutely bonkers, out of control. I mean, this is just is ridiculous. I mean, I'm busy. I do my own lawn, right? I mow it. I maintain my property. I enjoy my property. But the last couple of weeks, I've been super busy. My lawn is long right now. It's overdue for a mowing just because of life. And I will get to it. But the thought of somebody coming along and saying, you know what, we're going to dictate to you, even though we know, it doesn't matter if you're having difficulties in, timing and you're just busy, doesn't matter. It's an opportunity to take money from people. I just can't believe it exists. It says that the HOA liens, living in an HOA or condominium owners association, community subjects homeowners to periodic fees and dues to cover costs of things like landscaping, security, snow removal, repairs, snow removal. That's especially important in Louisiana, right?
Yeah, it's in our covenants.
You just never know. Actually, fun fact, and I don't know if you know this, I lived down in Louisiana when I was probably 3 or 4 years old. We lived down there for about a year and a half down in Baker. And it snowed when we were down there.
Oh yeah, we get snow occasionally.
Yeah.
Probably like once every 5 to 10 years.
I was totally confused because I'm like, Mom, why is everybody freaking out? Because nobody knows what to do about it.
You don't remember driving, but Louisiana roads are not known for their quality. So
No,
I would not drive. No matter how experienced you are, if it's snowing, you just stay inside.
So, I mean, and this goes under what I thought was interesting is that, under current Georgia state law, this is the power, that they have. An HOA or COA may include the following charges in a lien: unpaid assessments, which for those watching is unpaid assessments, which is, we have that up here too. It's, if they decide that, if the roads are not public roads and the roads are maintained by the HOA, and maybe the roads haven't been repaved, or maybe they have a community building that needs a roof and that's not in the reserve budget, then they take that estimate and they divide it amongst the homeowners and say, okay, everybody's getting a special assessment of $1,000, and you can either chip away at it or you can pay one lump sum, but you have no choice in the matter. You're getting the special assessment.
Some of those special assessments in some areas of the country are not just $1,000. They're making them like $35,000 for people in a year because of, in Florida, this is really interesting. In Florida, do you remember when that building collapsed, that condo had collapsed in Florida? And it was because they were up to current code, and they hadn't been brought up to date like they should have been. And nobody was out there to inspect it. Well, after that building collapsed, then all these inspectors went to all these condos and started saying, hey, you have to get this done. And then they passed a law that required them to get it done. So because they didn't put enough money in reserves, these condos associations, because they were trying to keep the fees really low, to have it all brought up to date the way that they're supposed to be, it's tens of thousands of dollars. So you're seeing all these condos go on the market, but the people that are buying it, they're like, I'm gonna have to pay an extra $35,000 because it needs a new roof. No. I can honestly say that in Florida, condos are gonna take a big hit as far as pricing is concerned, because people aren't gonna want to take on that assessment fee.
I've heard that. I've heard that in the coming years. I've heard that in the coming years that condos are going to take a little bit of a value hit, especially down in that area, for sure. Because
they got to bring up the hurricane code.
They got to bring it, and who's going to pay it? Nobody's gonna pay, what was market value. It's going to kill it. It does kill your actual value. And all those people, I mean, gosh, all those people, yeah, they're all probably short selling to get, to just get out from underneath the lien because
Well,
they
that's
can't
only if
pay
they
it.
bought it recently, they would have to short sale. But the thing is that a lot of these people that live in condos in South Florida are, they're fixed income people, right? So they live in an
Mm,
affordable condo. They had very affordable fees for the last like 10 years. And then they get this assessment in the mail and they don't have $35,000 sitting on a shelf to go and pay for this. So you have the elderly that are in a pickle. They don't know what to do with it, and some of the condos associations are saying we can't fix it. And they're talking about basically giving it back to the bank because they can't fix it. They don't have enough money in reserves to get it done. So
wow. Wow.
we'll
Giving
see.
giving the community back to the bank, you mean, or giving
They,
the
they, they're they're walking away. Like they're saying we don't have
just
enough
just
money. You're going to have to fine us or whatever, but we don't have the money for it.
yep.
So if it doesn't
What
meet
if you found
those
out?
regulations, those people will be foreclosed on, basically like eminent domain from the state.
Yep.
They won't be able to live there.
Yeah, and that's sad because, regardless of the reason, when you are getting foreclosed, that still follows you. Doesn't matter, if
7
you're
years.
7 years. So because of a thing that was out of your control, it's not like you were um, late on your mortgage, or maybe you had a job layoff, like something that directly affected you, or that, whatnot. This is like 100% out of your, like, zero, anything you can do about it. Nothing you can
Yeah.
do about it. And now and you can't go and buy something else.
Right. And
So
it's not like anybody's going to come out there and help you, like Florida has its own, I mean, other than HOAs and this condo disaster, I mean, the insurers out there, I mean, they have so many different problems. Oh, that's another assessed fee that was added onto condo associations and their HOAs because the insurance went up. And so they had to pay for
yes,
that too.
I just did a video on that, dropping on Thursday, about the
Oh, okay.
insurance. Which, Louisiana, you're all movie stars down there. Highest insurance increase in the country, 23%.
Mine doubled. Like I was 2,300 and then it was 4,600.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. And
Here's
I'm
the
like,
thing.
I'm writing the check and I'm like, how many people don't have this? So we did have we had a little surge of people that have put their houses on the market because they can't afford it. Because not only that, you have flood insurance as well.
Right.
So we are luckily here, our homeowners associations are not nearly as horrible. We had in my personal neighborhood, we had a homeowners association management company that really just sucked. I mean, they were awful. They would fine us and we get nasty grams in the mail like, you left your trash cans out. And I'm like, they haven't picked up the trash yet. Like, what do you want? Like and trash goes out on Tuesday. And like, you came by at 3:00. They didn't come to pick up the trash until 4:30. What do you want me to
Right.
do?
Right.
And like,
What-
and they're like, well, this was just a warning. I'm like, you're warning me. And then the next time that they're late, I'm going to get a fine. And neither one of those things are in my control. I have to wait for them to pick up the trash,
What
So
I know, so you're working on a video, you're doing your research like we do, right? Getting ready. So in your research, have you did you find that there are certain areas of the country that are worse than other areas of the country? Like, did that come up in your research at all, or?
I wouldn't say, like, the thing is there's over 75 million people that live in a homeowners association. That's,
Wow.
and then there's going to be at least another 3,000 communities that enter into that homeowners association by 2025. Like, who has the most building, right? Who's building the most
Yep.
houses? It's going to be the South, because we have more room to expand. So
Right.
you're going to see more homeowners associations through that Sun Belt area. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So, but I will say one plus about a homeowners association, because we were talking about private equity a hot minute ago.
Yep.
If you happen to live in an HOA and you don't have this as a amendment in your homeowners association, you guys can vote on this, or you only allow for let's just say 10, 15, or 20% of the houses in the community to be bought by a LLC or corporation and used as a rental. And the only reason I'm telling you to do this is each house, each home has their own vote in a homeowners association. So if you can imagine 20% of your neighborhood is now owned by one management company, that means that they have 20% of the vote in your community. So a lot of the things that, you want to have done could it could work against you because they have such a high amount of votes in their favor because they own so many properties. So I would, amend your HOAs to show that you can't have X amount of rental properties, and whatever LLC owns in that neighborhood, they only get one vote. No, if they own 5 houses, they still only get one vote. So I would work with an attorney to make sure that you guys are protected because you don't want them to have the majority ruling over your HOA.
I think that's great information. Thank you for that, Christina. That's good. That's good stuff. And I actually have, you were just talking about the Sun Belt. I actually have that article.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what? Like the most heartbreaking story I came across, by the way, before we get in this article.
Yes.
This guy was on active duty, and he had been away in Afghanistan, cleaning up at the end of the last. It wasn't a war, but whatever. He was there, and he had come back 9 months later while he was overseas. He bought a house in a neighborhood, and his fees were taken out automatically out of his checking account. Well, for some reason, while they were gone, they decided to switch management companies. And of course, he didn't know anything about this because he was overseas. New management company takes over, and he hasn't paid for 4.5 months. And so they start the whole foreclosure process. He gets back home and he sees a big pink sticker that, he has to be evicted from his house. And so the thing is there is a law in Georgia. I believe it is in Georgia, and then a lot of other laws as well, areas. A lot of other states have this law too. If you're overseas, they cannot foreclose on you for something like this. And they, for some reason, it passed. They didn't realize that he was active duty. Their research didn't come up with that, and that's why they foreclosed on him. So I don't know what the rectification was but he did have to go to court. He did have to go to court.
How sad.
I know. Wow. I know.
So wrong.
Thanks, Jane.
Jane B. Great team, Jen. Thank you. Thanks, Jane. Appreciate it.
Jen was on my live stream last week.
Yes, ma'am.
Sunday.
Couple days ago.
Yeah, a couple days
Which
ago.
seems like forever because it's just it's been that week, I think. This is from the Colorado Sun. State lawmakers take steps to limit HOA foreclosures equity loss after Colorado Sun investigation. This actually got into some of the stuff that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Darren Biggis, 37, paid $267,500 for this 2015 for a house in Aurora. Adding fiber optic lights, blah, 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 blah. His HOA filed for foreclosure to recover about $9,000. The house sold at auction for $76,000.
Yep.
An investor resold it for $520,000.
Yep.
I cry BS. That's what I'm going to say about that.
And like that one lady, she got her house sold for like $3.27.
That is such BS.
And do you know who buys them?
What's that?
Do you know who buys those houses? Because you never see them. Yeah, you never see them. An investor bought it. Investor? Yeah, I know who the investor was.
Yep.
Private equity. They never, like a lot of foreclosures that happen, they never hit the open market.
Nope.
No. So
not at all. So this was interesting. Colorado has HOAs had filed roughly 3,000 foreclosure cases since 2018, more than 250 of which, or roughly 8%, resulted in properties being auctioned off, most for well below market value. And at least 100 of those auction properties sold for $60,000 or less, according to court records analyzed by the Sun. Costing homeowners much, if not all, of the equity they had built. It does go on to say, so House Bill 1337 would cap the attorney's fees. And this article's not too long ago, April 15th. So I didn't research to find out what the current status is of that particular bill. It says we cap the attorney's fees charged on a homeowner facing eviction at half of the homeowner's unpaid assessments or any other money owed to the association, or $5,000, which is less. The Sun investigation found that attorney's fees, big surprise, the attorney's fees can make up a quarter or more of what homeowner eventually owes their HOA. So you're $10,000 behind. So add another, $2,500 just because.
This did pass, by the way. It may.
It pass.
Yep, it may.
So that's what it says. The bill would go to impose and this is what needs to happen, and will probably be happening right across the country. A first right of redemption on an HOA. Foreclosed homes sold at auction, giving homeowners, tenants, affordable housing nonprofits, community land trust, cooperative housing corporation, or state or local government in that priority order 30 days to file an affidavit stating their intent to purchase the property. So the homeowner would be given an option. It says, you should be able to get a second chance to get your home back, is basically what he talks about here. I think, did they go into other? Oh yeah, here we go. House Bill passed 1337 passed the House last week. 43-18 vote is awaiting debate in the Senate. So, what else do you know about that? What other points do you know about that in terms of what other legislation? Do you know of any other legislation that's being talked about, trying to pass, that's going to protect some of these people?
Well, the thing is that it's such a state individual problem, because every HOAs are treated differently. I knew about Colorado. There's always bills that sit out there. And you're going to see a lot of more bills flying around, and people are like, I just sponsored a bill to, go after these private equity firms and HOAs,
Yeah.
They mean nothing until they're voted on. So, I'd say always keep your eye out on it. And, for myself, I have an HOA. They switched management companies. They're taking money out of my account. And then it will say they take the money out of my account and it's passed. And then all of a sudden I'll get an email saying we weren't able to process it. This is the second time. So I have literally doing this video because I have to find out what happened. What happened?
You're so nervous.
It literally scares the crap out of me. I've never laid on anything. And then not only that, I had an overage in my account of $400 and something. They said they were going to send me a check. They said they sent me the check. I never got it. I never got the check. And that was at the beginning of the year.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Something's wrong. Something doesn't feel right.
Stinky in Denmark.
Yeah. I mean, if I could, I'd just pay for the year and not even have to think about it. But,
Right. These are some of the bills, Christina, that that article. House Bill 1078 require that property managers operating HOAs be licensed with the state. House Bill 1233 rollback, which would roll back a requirement in the bill. The measure, to post a notice on a home whose homeowner owes money to the association. This is crazy that they have to pass a bill that requires the HOA to physically post a notice on a homeowner, on a home whose homeowner is.
They have to prove that it was sent in Louisiana. They have to prove that it was sent through registered mail. So someone has to sign for it so they can't just send you a letter and call it a day. It has to come through registered mail.
But to force them to physically post it, why wouldn't they be doing that anyways? Another one restricting a member from operating a business out of their home, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, God, you hope that these people get some help. Maddie B. I lived in SoCal in 94 after an earthquake damaged hundreds of condos, mostly
Mhm.
apartment conversions. Insurance companies failed and owners walked away. I would never buy a home if I didn't own the land. You can come to Massachusetts.
This is the affordable housing thing. I'm going to step on you real quick. What
Yeah,
happens,
no,
and I'm
please do,
sure,
please do.
I'm sure, like you probably know this. Like I understand a lot of people that live in condos. There's different types of condos. There's condos that are like really high end, and they don't, like they're. But then there's people that live in a condo because that is the most affordable place they can live. And even if you live in something called a manufactured home park, some people call it mobile home parks or trailer parks. A lot of times those people are renting the land underneath it. And so that's the most affordable option they have. It's either that or renting from somebody. So this gives them a little slice of real estate that they can own. Nobody anticipated that these assessments were going to happen the way that they did. Um, I I'm with you though. I'm not a big fan of condominiums. I mean, I've seen them work out really well for people, but I've seen them go very bad, go south really quickly. And every neighborhood, every condo association, anytime you rent land underneath it, it all comes down to the management company that's running it. You can have really good ones or you can have really bad ones. And if you're considering that, I would suggest talking to your local neighbors. Just talk to neighbors. Say, hey, look, I was looking at buying this condo. I mean, what do you think of the association? Is it any good, or would you even recommend somebody moving here? Because people love to tell their story, love to tell their story, especially if they hate it.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, as far as a course of action is concerned, for sure, like, if you are, because I think condos do have a place, right? I
Mhm.
think they have a place there. Honestly, I think they're a great stepping stone for a first-time home buyer. You're
Mhm.
not fully responsible for maintaining the exterior of the property. You can just, they're typically a little bit less money. It's a great way to get your foot, especially now where it is so expensive, so hard to get your foot into, anything. Number one. Number two, snowbirds. Snowbirds, and we see that a lot up here in the Northeast, where they'll do 6 months here, 6 months down south, and a condo is a great alternative because you don't have to mow the lawn. You don't have to worry about that external maintenance. You can, it's a little bit more secure. You can just, maybe have a key with the management company, and if there's a plumbing leaks, they can oversee it, whatever. I think there's a place, but when you buy it, you've got to get at least 2 to 3 years of the budget. At least 2 to 3 years of the budget. You got to
Good
get a copy of the master deed. You've got to get a copy of the rules and regulations. You want to get a copy of every piece of condo documentation that they have on file, all the
accounting.
amendments,
Mhm.
everything. And a lot of it is overwhelming. I think a lot of buyers don't go through that stuff because some of these master deeds are like 150 pages,
Mhm.
but that's where having an attorney, look it over, depending on what state you're in. If you're in an attorney state, for a closing attorney state, a lot of these attorneys will do it for you for free, but even if you had to hire, I think it's worth protecting your investment to have the attorney review it on your behalf to see if there's anything fishy,
Mhm.
any power that the HOA has in those condo docs that they really shouldn't, or whatnot. But you've got to go
Especially the
through
older
this
ones.
fine tooth comb.
Especially those older ones, man. Some of them are crazy.
Yes.
I was in one condo, not condo, it was a just regular homeowners association. And the builder always had rights to the homeowners association. He was the ruling party. And I mean that was established in 1987. I'm like, is that
Mhm.
dude still alive? Technically he was. I mean, he never interfered, but the way that condo association was set up, if he didn't like anything, he could have walked right in
You
and
can
said,
come
"Nope,
back.
we're not doing that."
Yep.
Like he's the king, you know?
Yeah, you gotta scrutinize. You gotta scrutinize,
Mhm.
scrutinize, scrutinize, and really, really do your due diligence to figure out whether it's something, which is hard, right? Which is hard if you're getting into a brand new community, a new construction community. that doesn't have a bunch of neighbors that you can ask and knock on the door, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, what do you do, Christina? You know what I mean? It's like if you don't have, you're getting into a community and they have the HOA set up. I mean, I guess what you could do is you could
Check social
look
media.
at well, you go to social media, but you go to another development in the area that the builder built
Right.
and look at how that, HOA is being run. How did the builder leave that HOA?
Yeah.
How is that set up? Because pretty much it's just cut and paste, right? Like if a builder sets up this community, they're gonna have their rigmarole condo docs, and then it's just cut and paste to the next community.
I in my old community, the whole reason I left was because they gave us these association paperwork saying that we had an HOA. And then, of course, over time, within a few years, people weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And I'm like, where is the association? Where do I pay my dues? Like I kept asking. They never filed the covenants. They were never filed. So anybody could do anything they wanted to in that neighborhood. And as much as people say, I never live in association, blah. I'm sorry, if you live in one of the neighborhoods like I did, where everybody was like pretty much on top of each other, you get somebody that doesn't mow their lawn, or they leave the backyard looking a mess, and then it attracts rodents and all sorts of different vermin, and it has a smell.
Vermin.
They're leaving old cars back there. They're driving on the front of their lawns. It does keep and maintain a aesthetic to the neighborhood that is more appealing than broken down, trashy like nothing will bring down a neighborhood more than a neighbor that doesn't clean up after themselves, and
It's
and
true.
it doesn't matter how high your fence is, by the way.
No,
you know
no, it does
so
not. And
that's why I left. My neighbor was just terrible, and there was no established HOA. And I'm like, you know what? You can't afford to move, but I certainly can, and I'm getting the heck out of here.
that's probably that was probably your smartest thing to do.
Mhm.
I unless you wanted to add anything on HOAs, I wanted to get into some questions. Is that all right with
Like
you?
Joseph said, I don't want somebody parking their broken down cars in the front lawn. This is a true story. So during a hurricane, they invited their whole entire family over to their house. And since there were so many people in their family, they just allowed them to park their cars in their front lawn. So there were 6 cars in their front lawn. And of course, they ran out of room. So they took off a panel off their fence, drove it up the side of the yard, and started parking in the backyard. So there was a total of 5 cars in the backyard. And I'm like, what in the hillbilly garbage is this? Like, this is ridiculous. And they were loud and obnoxious. And I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I was like, Eddie, once this hurricane's over with, we need to talk about moving. We gotta get out of here. And
I don't blame you.
yeah.
I love my neighbors. My neighbors would never do that. Thank goodness. 100%, 100%. Yeah, no thanks. No, thank you. All right, so I have some questions that came up on a couple different videos that I wanted to dig into. So, and this was just kind of stuff that I think that it's worth, too long of an answer to go into on a quick comment. And honestly, some of these questions were really, really, really great. So this comment came in, this question came in on video I did a couple weeks ago. Never say this to an agent when selling your home. And J Simp 4050 said, what are your thoughts on using a realtor? And I actually have some thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on using a realtor that you know personally, a friend? I've never sold a home. We are still in our first house. Frankly, I'm fine living here till I die. But if I had to sell, is it a bad idea to use a realtor you know personally? Now, Christina, you and I both know that in the real estate industry, they kind of drill it into our heads like, you got to get after your friends and your family for referrals, friends and family for referrals. But I'm going to tell you that I don't think it's always a good idea. I really think it's going to depend on this scenario. So what you got to do is you got to ask yourself, you have your cousin Jim, who's been maybe selling houses for a couple of years, maybe he's more than a couple of years. If things went south with your dealings, he wasn't calling you back in time, or he wasn't doing the things that you really wanted him to do. You wanted him to do a certain thing, maybe do an open house, or you wanted him to follow through and do a certain drone footage or whatever it is, right? And you didn't think that he was following up with people. All things that just were like, you know what? If I was dealing with a stranger, I'd be really upset. If you are uncomfortable with calling out this friend, family member, you should not hire him. And in my experience, that is the number one reason why you should really think twice about using a friend or family member, because you can't, it's hard to do that, because a lot of people will say, well, if I say that to them, then I'll never be able to, like, it'll be weird at parties.
Yeah.
It'll be
Friends and
strange
family.
when you see them again. It is. Now, I personally, Christina, and I've helped I just helped my brother move down to Texas, right? And I've had that, but I've worked very hard to say, hey, listen, I'm your real estate agent. I know I'm your sister, but listen, if you guys are upset, you gotta tell me. If I'm not doing something right, if I'm doing something that you have questions on and you're not happy, you gotta tell me. Like, you gotta hold me to a higher standard, because that would make their experience less than. And then it's a complete, then it gets to a situation where they should never have hired me in the first place. So I think that, I think it's hard. I think it's really hard. We have a mutual friend. I won't name her because she's not here, and it's up to her to say who she is. But Christina, oh, sorry.
You already said her name.
I know. She had this situation. We've had this conversation ad nauseum, and I think it's dicey area. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm with Joseph. I basically refuse to work for family. I don't know if you know this or not. I used to be a hairdresser, and I don't cut my family's hair to this day. I mean, other than my children, I don't do it. I won't do it. And when it comes to, like, my parents, if they decide to sell their house, I have a referring agent that I have right here in the area. She's actually my daughter's godmother, but she doesn't have a close relationship with my parents, and she will be listing their house and she will be taking care of it. And I will, get my 25% referral fee, mostly because I don't want, whenever you have that relationship with somebody and they're close, it blurs the line of professional,ism, because you end up saying too much as a real estate agent, and or they feel like they have more access to you. They're not afraid to call you 11:30 at night, and that line of professionalism isn't there between the two of you. And so I want my clients and my friends and family to get the best service, most professional service available to them. So the best thing I can do is refer them to somebody that I know is just going to take really good care of them.
100%. I mean, I think the other piece of the puzzle is that, hey, thanks, David. I still haven't, I'm just going to do the
super chat.
I don't have a super chat yet. I'm trying to talk my kids into making me one, but it hasn't happened yet. But
my subscribers made mine.
I know. I'm aware. If I had time, I know I could do it, but I just don't have time. But thank you so much, David. You're awesome. But here's the other thing too, is that, when our role in this as agents, right, is the pragmatic. Typically, not everybody, but typically when a buyer buys and a seller sells, there's emotion involved. There's emotion involved. It's like you're not going to buy a house you hate, or you don't have any feelings for whatsoever. There's got to be something going on that you're like, oh, I really like it. When you're selling, not everybody, but a good chunk of people, it's like they're selling a piece of themselves, right? It's hard. It's hard. As a real estate agent, I approach it from a pragmatic. It's not my house. I'm not selling my own house. I'm not buying my own house. I don't have an emotional attachment to the decision, so I can step outside the decision. And that's, my job is to say, okay, from a business standpoint, here's what I think it should do in the house. Here's the way I should negotiate the offer, because I'm looking at it from a analytical standpoint, right? And that's how you get the best results. But when you start getting family involved, how do you do that? you're working with your mother and you're like, your mother, you don't want her to do any more work, but you know that the work, if she just replaced the darn carpets, it would be so much better. But you're like, I don't
She
want.
can't hear that because my mom thinks that her
No.
house is the best house because she does keep it very clean, but she doesn't realize she has very bad taste.
Yep. So it's like,
and I can't tell her that, but somebody else can.
I think that is absolutely like the worst. That to me is like the hardest part. Joe says the best thing you can do, offer them prudent advice from the outside. Amen.
Yep.
I concur.
I
concur. You
I
stole
concur.
it from me, Christina Smallhorn. Jane says I am currently working with a real estate agent in Georgia who is referred to me by Christina. Yay. Will I have to, okay. Will I have to sign a contract on August 17th to keep working with her? I'm searching for a home. Okay.
Are you under contract
Well, I'm
currently?
going to press pause on that because I actually have a comment on somebody asking about the timing of the whole agency thing. So I'm going to actually hit pause on that answer, Jane, for just a second.
Oh, okay.
I have, let's see, let's get rid of this.
In the grand scheme of things, Jane, it really doesn't matter if you're under contract because if you're already under contract, everything's already been negotiated.
Right.
So if they ask you to sign something, you're just sliding paper over and putting ink on there. Oh, she's not under contract.
It is, let's see here.
Yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes. Well, she's looking for that. Yes.
There we go. So, so here's the thing. And this, I think kind of, this is where it kind of gets a little bit sticky and we don't know all the answers. We don't know all the answers. Buying and selling. This is from the video I did last week. Dave S2468. He had two great questions, and the first question was how does and for those that maybe have not watched the video, I went into depth about what I know so far about what's happening on August 17th with the commission changes as a result of the national DOJ lawsuit with National Association of Realtors. Realtors. I know
right.
My accent. I have a Massachusetts, Western Mass, New York, Louisiana dialect. I get grief all the time about the way I pronounce things, and it's just, you know what, that's just the way it is, and it is what it is, because I mispronounce things all the time.
Do you know who cares about the way you say realtor?
Yeah, the NAR.
And realtors. Nobody else cares. The public does not care.
Nope. He asked, how does this impact houses that were already on the market prior to 8/7 that already had the original type of listing agreement, which included buyer agent commissions? Do those stay as long as do those stay as they are as long as the original listing contract is enforced, or will a new listing agreement have to be signed on those properties? I don't know. At this point in time, the big answer is I don't know, because technically you shouldn't, and you should, technically everything per the DOJ's requirements, NAR's requirements, the buyer agent commission field is being eliminated. So if the listing agreement has a buyer agent fee in the listing agreement, you can't, how do you continually enforce that? Because it's, right now, after August 17th, that listing agreement will be in violation of the new law. So,
but if it's a contract, this is a lawyer thing, because if it's a contract, in the contract, listing agreement is a contract. And if that contract was signed prior to the 17th, like they were under contract with those terms.
I would think so.
Right.
I would absolutely think so. But
that's an attorney question.
Well, yeah, 100%. And I guess I wanted to bring it up because of the fact that they have not clearly outlined, well, they haven't clearly outlined a lot of things of what they want us to do.
And
Uh-huh.
they changed it. Like, they said they made this big announcement. They had this big meeting with all of us. They said all this stuff, and we thought we had it clear. And they were like, "Yeah, about that, we need to change it up a little bit more."
And it's probably going to change again. It's
Yeah,
probably going to be changing
yeah.
again, for sure. But I would say, stay tuned on that.
Mhm.
Um, Definitely stay tuned. The other thing that came up a lot, I had a lot of questions about this in my comments was, how do these new rules impact the concept of an open house? Can people who just casually want to walk, attend an open house out of curiosity, no longer enter in without signing a buyer agent's agreement on the spot? It seems like that would end the concept of open houses as we know it. So, um, it's my understanding that you do not need a buyer agency agreement to go into an open house, that you can just walk in. You're not,
That
it's,
depends on who you talk to. Because I've heard just the opposite. In order for someone
really
to walk through the threshold of a house, they must have some buyer agent's agreement set up.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting,
So
interesting.
it's like everybody's kind of like running around with their pants on fire until they get it all straightened out. And
I
then
agree.
again, I think that depends on the state too, because it might be not a NAR ruling, but it might be for that specific state.
Yeah, you know what? I talked to an agent in California today,
Mhm.
and she told me that California's they just released their new forms, and she said the California Association of Realtors doesn't want to put buyer concessions on the listing at
Right.
all. So on the listing contract.
So it's
So
an addendum.
because it's gonna be state by state,
Hmm.
which is just, I mean, talk about making it just, I mean, people they just wanna sell, they just wanna buy.
Right. But every state has
Come
their own
on.
laws. So
It's just, you know,
that's why it's
why
different.
do we have to make this so complicated? It's kind of
Because a
ridiculous.
lawyer got involved.
Because
You guys hate real estate agents, boy, oh boy. And you know what? They're wanting more money
thank you,
too.
Jane. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Jane. So they're like these lawyers, like all these sellers that sued in the first place are really upset because they're hardly getting any money. They're getting no return
Yes.
on this lawsuit. So they want even more money now because they're like, oh, where did all the money go to? Where it went
Right.
to? Lawyers, attorneys.
So here's a fun fact. Here's a
Hmm.
fun fact, right? So they want to the word customary, and I did use the word customary in my video, and I got
Hmm.
some flack on it. But the context of the way I used it is different than what they're talking about in these lawsuits, right?
Hmm.
It was more geared towards just knowing what your competition's doing, so a seller can figure out how to leverage their house
Right.
to not lose out against other home sellers, right? And so to
Exactly.
ask, like, okay, so if we've got 14 houses on the market in in our general vicinity, like, what's everybody else doing? It's like going to a gas station and then being like, this guy's a penny less, this guy's a penny more, this guy's 2 cents more, this is 2 cents less. Like, you're seeing what's customary, you're seeing what the competition is, so you can figure out your strategy. But the thing is they're all up in a huff about customary. And I know you know the answer to this, Christina, but do you know what the attorneys said when they were trying to figure out the bill after this lawsuit?
Oh, what did
The
they
attorney
say?
said, "I'll get back to you. I have to find out what's customary."
Oh no.
I kid you not. I kid you not. That's what the attorneys said specifically to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what their millions of dollars in fees were going to be for that lawsuit. But
David
I
said something
digress.
really neat.
Yeah,
David said,
he's
"Isn't
always
this
got
less
some good stuff.
transparent now?" Yes. Yes. You know why?
100%.
Yeah. Well, not even, I think it was like 5 years ago or something like that. They made it very abundantly clear that we had to advertise in all advertisement how much the commissions were for the buyer's agents. What was the compensation offered to real estate agents? And that had to be on the MLS. So the public was aware what monies was going to what. And now it's all behind the scenes. Nobody knows nothing. And
Yeah.
this is just one of those things. Like, this is the knee-jerk reaction to a lawsuit. Things will change again. And
Yep.
like, they already have buyers out there right now. There's another class action lawsuit stating the fact that how unfair this is to buyers and that it gives sellers the upper hand and it's not making a fair playing field. So, I mean, the way it looks now is probably not the way it's going to look in 15 years. So,
No, and it's, I mean, here's another question that came in about like Zillow. It's, Mabel Torres 6615 says, is this going to affect Zillow and similar apps that post available houses? Will you still be able to browse these homes online and during open houses, which are usually posted on these app sites? I assume so. I mean, because, now you're getting into the business of Zillow.
You're right.
That's a private business. They have these agreements with MLS. That's how they get their data. And they have to abide, but the data is specific. The data disclosure is specific to MLS. And it's because MLS can only be accessed by real estate agents. MLS is governed by National Association of Realtors. National Association of Realtors doesn't govern private businesses. So Zillow could do whatever they want. They could put the buyers, they could put buyer concessions, they could do whatever. But the question is that
if
going
it's attached to the MLS, they can't.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it's going to be wait and see. And honestly, I think a lot of buyers are going to have to do that because I think there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of comments that came through that the general feeling was like, well, what if I just want to go look at the house? You
still got to sign it.
You got to sign it. But
that they're going to come up with something else. They're going to have something like the thing is you can sign that for 24 hours. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're locked into that person for life.
For one house. For one house. You sign it for one house.
One house for 24 hours. There's different ways that you can do that agency agreement. It doesn't mean that you're tied to that real estate agent for a lifetime. It could be for that specific house. It could be for 24 hours. It could be for, whatever the terms are that you as a buyer negotiate with that real estate agent. Those are the terms. Yep. You're not locked into them for life. That's for sure.
No, I think that, and that's going to be the key is like the savviness of the real estate agent and how much they, what their business model is, what they offer. And honestly, if, I had suggested in the video that, there's going to be multiple business models. There already is multiple business models. You can do a traditional model. You can do a 1% agent. You can do an MLS only agent. There's these models already exist.
Yeah. Flat fee agents.
Flat fee agents and stuff like that. So, one model might be, hey, I'll show it to you for $150. And I think it was, a lot of people thought, well, it's going to cost me to buy a house. Well, to see the house. Well, then don't go to that agent. Go to another agent. Go to another agent that's not going to charge you anything. I think the simplest way is you try to get a referral from a friend or a referral from Christina and I, or a referral from somebody not just open the, I was about to say Yellow Pages, but maybe some people the Yellow Pages are.
Oh, golly, how old are you?
Gonna look at my Rolodex.
I had a broker that was insistent that I advertise in the Yellow Pages. This was in 2016. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. And she was like, why not? I mean, I get a lot of business from there. I'm like, yeah, you get business for your type of
1999.
Yeah. I go, my clientele isn't looking at the Yellow Pages. Oh, the Yellow Pages aren't going anywhere. I'm like, wrong,
honey.
Wrong.
Honey. Well, what I was going to say is that you find an agent that is willing to say to have a one property contract for the typical commission that is, that you would pay if you stuck with them, looked at multiple houses and all the kind of things. And so there's no money up front. You do it for one property and basically it becomes like an interview for the agent.
Absolutely.
So if the agent is if you impress them and you connect with them and all that kind of stuff, they're going to want you to, then maybe you consider signing with them for other properties. But if they fail the interview, bye-bye now. No money out of your pocket. You saw the house. move on to the next person. And you may end up, you know what? I think it might be a good way to just, find, and then when you find somebody that you're like, oh, this person's actually going to give a crap about me and look out for me and do a good job and is worth my time and money, but I don't know, to keeping it simple, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been saying this is going to get some of the riffraff out of there. And that's always a good thing.
100%. Aisha, is that how I say it? Aisha? I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. When I was thinking about buying a home, I always wanted a condo, but I always thought about the HOA. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, I think it keeps people away. But I think that you just got to get to your homework. Got to do your homework. Don't just write it off as no. I don't think blanket statement, they're all bad. I just got to do your homework.
It's like everybody says all mobile homes are terrible. I'm like, no,
right.
Nope. No, they're not. And then what people think is there's always confusion. So
this is $3 a minute. So maybe they'll start selling like those cards. For real estate agents,
prepaid cards,
like you preload time on it or something.
I remember I used to have long distance cards. Golly, that was a thing. A preloaded long distance card, AT&T card. Wow.
Back in the day.
Back in my day, we used to have to pay for internet per minute.
Did you have a pager? Did you ever have a pager?
Absolutely. Yep, sure did.
I thought I was the hottest thing. I was like, look at me. I got a pager.
And what was so important about our careers that we needed a pager? Absolutely nothing. All of us had them.
When I got my license in 96, cell phones were just coming into the scene, right? And it was like 6 months, not even. And I'm like, I need to be like I was like 23. Like, I need to be like this business. I want to be a business person. So I went to the Cellular One store or whatever the heck it was called at the time. And I got a bag phone. And that flipping thing was like the bag itself was like this big. And then it had a cord, like a house phone, a big cord with the actual receiver that you got to hold up.
I remember those.
Batteries were like this big.
My friend's dad was a doctor and he had one of those. I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
It was just bonkers. Oh, how things have changed. Jane says, if I offer 1 or 2% to my agent instead of 3 and up, will that affect the performance of the agent when buying or selling? Not.
If it does, get rid of them.
Yep.
It does, get rid of them.
So here's the thing I want you to consider. There is a threshold for being able to stay in business in this business. I could not stay in business and pay my taxes because we're all 1099. We're all subcontractors, which means we all pay self-employment tax, state tax, federal tax, and then all the association fees. And it costs a lot of money just to break even. So that's one of the reasons why these fees have gotten to the point now. Yes, there's a huge argument with the price of the house and $1 million house versus a $500,000 house and the cost difference and all the things. So I think that it's just, I think it's relative to the price. If you're buying a $2 or $3 million house, I think 1% is more than sufficient. But I do think that just keep in mind that, if an agent doesn't, if you're doing like, your typical average purchase price, $450,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. It's just something to keep in mind that it becomes hard to stay in business when you get too low. But I don't think 2% is too low at all. And 3%, I don't know if. I don't want to get caught up in the NAR will be like, oh, you're talking about commissions and everything else, but we don't see that here. Like 3%.
Well, I don't see it in Louisiana.
Nobody should be paying 3%.
Builders would give 3%. And I was like, I always felt like I won the lottery because I never even and I will swear this on anything you want me to swear it on. I have never looked on how much I was getting paid when I showed houses. And I never even knew until the closing documents came over to the title company because I didn't care. I didn't care. And I will tell you this too. Those more expensive homes are no more difficult than a smaller house. And I will argue the fact
I would
that
agree. I would
those
agree.
smaller houses, like, because I dealt with a lot of land and manufactured housing, that's a hell of a lot more work for literally pennies. Because all the times you have to drive out there and everything, that commission you're working your tail off for, and it all comes down with the amount of money and gas, and once you've paid everybody out, you probably made maybe $500
Yep.
on those very inexpensive properties. So like when you get a easy property that happens to have a higher price tag, it kind of offsets the ones that you really
Well,
like ran around with like a chicken with your head cut off, you
and
know?
that's the thing. That's the thing. I mean, I had a closing. I had 2 closings today with a couple that sold and bought another house.
Mhm.
Fantastic. I've been working with them 3 years. Why? Because their daughter connected me to them. They weren't ready. So I've been talking to them and coaching them and guiding them for 3 years. 3 years of work. And if they decided to just not buy, that's all that 3 years of phone calls, research, visits, and all the things. Like, that's what we sign up for, not complain about it, but it's a lot of hours,
Yep.
right? It's not just, it's not from the clock doesn't start ticking from that to the closing table. Somebody had said in one of the comments, we should be charging hourly. If we started charging hourly,
Oh,
could be
that
paying
would
us
be
a lot more money. That is
oh,
no joke.
that
That
would
is
not be a
no
good
joke.
idea.
If we started to keep track of the minutes like an attorney does, holy cow,
They would not then they really
that
hate
would
real
be a
estate agents.
Pandora's box that you would want to close immediately because it just does, it's a lot. So I hope I hope that's clear as mud to you, Jane.
Well, the other thing too is that like behind the scenes, the amount of paperwork that we have to do, not only just to, get it over to the title company, we have to do all these things for our brokerage with the, all the paperwork for them too, upload it to certain sites and all this stuff. Then you have to, there's all this other work that you don't know that we are doing. It seems very simple, like a
Yes.
click of the button and all that stuff. It takes hours. And I remember like many a times being up at 3 o'clock in the morning, updating listings, making sure I have new pictures, rotating those pictures out, updating descriptions, making sure that, like if I had to add a bonus, like,
You see these bags under my eyes?
yeah,
This is this is from
we're
trying
in our
to
30s and this is what happens.
I'm really 25. Yeah, right. But it's true. It's true. I'm up at 4:30 every morning just to try to, juggle all the things because it's just, it's just
An
time.
early
But
riser.
anyways,
I'm
I
not an early
know.
riser. I'll be up all night. I'll stay up until 4 o'clock in the morning to get everything
Right.
done. But I
I
do
know. That's
not
why.
like to hear the birds sing in the morning. Nope, nope, nope.
No, and that's why when you tried messaging me last night, I'm like, "No, I'm in bed."
Mhm. Yep.
I'm in bed. David says, "I think the YouTube agent's value is only going to increase with these new rule changes. Consumers can vet their agent without the sales pitch." True,
I
true,
concur.
true.
I concur.
I
Matter of
totally
fact, I
concur.
feel
Yep.
so confident about that, David, that I created a whole entire course for real estate agents to build their own YouTube channels. So that way they can
Amen.
build the clientele that they want just by creating videos. Matter of fact, you're a student there. So thank you so much for being part of the YouTube video geeks.
Oh gosh. Joseph says a showing punch card, fifth showing free. I love
Oh
it.
yeah,
I,
like ice
I
cream.
love it.
That'd be funny.
Like a like
That'd
a like a Dunkin', well, I don't know if you guys know Dunkin' Donuts down
We
there?
used
No, I don't
we
know.
had it for a hot minute. You know what? I'm on the hunt for a lemon-filled donut. I went to Connecticut and we went to like 6 different Dunkin' Donuts. Not one of them had a lemon-filled donut.
Are you
I
kidding? Do you guys have
No,
Crumble down there? Do you guys have the Crumble cookie place? No? Or is that
those are
another thing?
disgusting. I
Yeah,
do not
they're
want
like
undercooked
4 pounds of
dried
cookie?
yeah, undercooked, like, they're undercooked and dry at the same time, and they're so overpriced with a boatload of really super sweet icing. They're stupid. Like, I'm not eating that garbage.
Can you please just tell me how you really feel, Christine, on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, they're
'Cause I'm
disgusting.
unclear.
Yeah.
Um, David says, I think smaller, less expensive homes are harder deals.
Yeah.
The homes have issues. The buyers and sellers have limited funds.
Correct.
Amen. I mean,
Yeah.
those are the affordable house home
I like them
arena.
though. I like them in the fact that these are people that you're genuinely helping because they're in a situation that they have to sell, and the people that want to buy it really want to buy it. And it really becomes a collaboration between those two people and those two agents because we're all on the same page. We're really trying to get it done for both of them. And they're harder, but to me, they're more rewarding. And then the people that you sold that house to will never forget you because they know that you went the extra mile for them. And then the people that were buying it know the exact same thing. So they're always customers for life. I know they're a lot more work, and I know that in the end, probably I don't make any commission once you balance it all out, but they're customers for life. So, I mean, they're clients you will have forever. So,
Yep. Jane says, in real estate agents often work weekends.
who
I
does?
don't even
Yeah,
know what a weekend looks like,
absolutely.
lately.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, David. There we go. Twisted your arm.
Yeah.
David says those deals are very rewarding. Yes,
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
I have a market comment, Christina, which I wanted to, a market comment. So
Market.
the last live stream that I did with Jackie Baker.
Jackie
Baker.
Whenever she calls me and I answer the phone, I go, "What? What do you want?"
Well, during that live stream, I made a comment because it was based on some research that I had read in terms of what's happening in the next year to 18 months. And just in terms of the market and pricing and so forth. And I made a comment about the fact that, if you're ready to buy, if you are prepared to buy, your finances are in order, everything, all the ducks are lined up. If you don't buy now, you're going to regret it. And that's what Take 1102 said at timestamp 3535. You mentioned buyers would be kicking themselves if they prepared to buy, if they're prepared to buy and don't. Why is that? So the reason being is because of the fact of, there's a couple different moving parts. Number one, and Christina, I know you talk about this ad nauseum, prices are not going down everywhere.
No.
Prices are they're softening. They're softening in
some markets.
Texas. They're softening in some markets, in Florida and selective markets, Arizona. They're softening, but the softening is only getting towards. I used the analogy with Jackie. I said, when you go on vacation, you say you're on a cruise. What do? You eat. You eat. Why? Because it's good food, and you may eat way more than you normally eat. You put on 5 pounds. You come home and you're like, oh my gosh, you like pack, specifically for the stretchy clothes because you're going to eat more than you normally do and you're going to put on 5 pounds. When you come home and you get back into normal, and when you lose 5 pounds, do you run around and celebrate, I'm losing weight. I'm finally been trying for 20 years and I'm finally losing weight. No, you just lost the weight that you were gluttonous and gained during vacation. If you lost 10 pounds, that'd be one thing. And I think that analogy is like, that's a lot of what's happening in the market now. The market is softening in Arizona, it's in Texas, but it's important to look to the points of where they're softening to. They're at pre-pandemic levels, 2019. 2019 was still a super heavy seller's market.
Yep.
So we were still way above there was no balance. We were still out of balance. So those prices are coming down. Yes, for those people that are buying in those market, there's opportunity, but there's no deals to be, deals that the prices aren't going to be going down 30%, 40%. That just the demand, the level of inventory doesn't warrant it. And now you add in the fact that the Fed is now saying that the rates are going to be adjusted. They're not saying how much they won't until they actually do it in September, but it is happening.
Every time Jerome Powell opens his mouth, I'm just like, oh my God, what is he going to say? It's not the statements. It's when he has the interviews with the reporters afterwards. You can watch
Yeah.
the stock market go like this, whoop, 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 because he says such off the wall, goofy stuff. He's the worst. He is the worst.
So it'll be, but it will be interesting.
Krista K is actually in the chat. He was the one that you just read the comment about.
Oh, hey, there you are.
Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. I'm so glad. Well, I usually try to post in the comments like, hey, I'm going to talk about this so that, people can jump in the comments. So,
Right.
that's awesome. She says, I'm in PA. Oh, all right. So you're just, you're my neighbor to the south. Fantastic.
I was just in
Pennsylvania. Christina,
Pennsylvania.
you were just there.
Yeah, I was in Westchester, Pennsylvania.
Isn't that where the Office was filmed?
No.
What was that? What was the name of that town that it was based out of?
I thought
The
it was
Office.
I thought that was in Scranton.
Scranton, Pennsylvania, right? No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I digress.
I could be wrong. I
don't know why my brain went there.
My daughter will know that. My daughter will know that.
Yeah, I think and I think it also comes back to the thing that that I'm always the drum that I'm always banging, which is you don't time your purchase, you don't time your sale on the market. You just don't. You time it based on what's good for you. You're not, unless you're an investor, total different set of rules. But if you're buying for yourself, you time it based on your own timeline. Financially, does it make sense? Number one, is your job situation solid? What is your family dynamics? Like, all of these things, if all the boxes are checked, the market's irrelevant. You do what you need to do for your family. That's what's best for your family, and forget about the market. But the prices, especially if you're buying your first house, prices are going to continue to go up. Even if the rates come down, there's going to be a flurry if the rates come down. There's going to be a flurry of activity, which are going to push the values even a little bit higher. We'll see. But I think that if you just get it, that's basically where I was going with that, Krista. I hope that answers your question.
I always say that, like, if you're worried that like you're not going to make any money from your house, if you don't plan on, if you're going to move, if you have a plan to move within 3 years, please don't buy a house. Please don't buy a house.
Yeah.
Like
110%. 110%. Agree.
But if you have a life goal to live in the house for 7 to 10 years, you're gonna be just fine. Even if your area adjusts some. If you were holding on to a house for 7 to 10 years, you're still gonna make money. You're gonna be fine.
Yep.
You're gonna be fine.
I totally agree. Maddie says, I go to all the open houses in my neighborhoods to track. This is smart. To track how homes are being updated and how real comps are valued. I certainly wouldn't drag an agent along with me. I completely agree. And you shouldn't have to have an agent to go to an open house. That's ridiculous.
Joe Eves is in the chat.
What's that?
Joe Eves is in the chat.
He is.
Yeah. He said Scranton.
David says, do you think Zillow gives a good estimate? I'm going to give you a big fat depends. The problem with Zillow is it's an algorithm. They have no idea condition of your property, updates on your property, how it compares to other updates in the neighborhood. They're looking at square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, tax bracket, garage. That's it. And they're going to, and depending on where you live, if you don't have a ton of comps in the area that have sold, they're going to pull in comps that are absolutely not comparable to your house. So I think it's, because if I think that you go to Zillow, you go to Redfin, you go to realtor.com, you're going to get 3 different numbers. And if anything, it gives you a big ballpark, maybe, but I'll tell you, I've had properties that are, valued. I had Zillow once tell me my property was valued like 1.2 million. I do not live in a $1.2 million house.
You're like,
it was like,
go ahead and buy it, make an offer.
I'm like, yeah, right. So I think you look at it and it's a good point of reference because you can kind of see what the comps are, but do not assume that value is, accurate. Thank you very much, Patty. Appreciate you.
I have a Zillow story because I live in a very rural area of Louisiana. And so they, because they draw that radius around the center of the house. So let's just say the house that you're getting this estimate for is right smack dab in the middle of a circle. And in that circle, they're taking all the houses that sold in that circle into consideration for your estimate. Well, because I live in a rural area, you have a farm that's right next to a mobile home that's right next to a $2 million house, right next to a convenience store that's right next to another house that was built in the 40s. I mean, you can't use that as comps, but because they have similar square footage, Zillow puts it in there. In some cases, I think in like bigger cities where everything is a little tighter, I think they have a better, Zestimate on there, but always get a CMA from a real estate agent, like that's going to be a lot more.
Three. I always tell people three, get three different estimates, interview three agents.
Oh yeah.
Jane says, I am buying in a different state than where I live. How annoying is it to ask for videos of several online houses? So I will tell you that when I work with agents, when I work with buyers that are coming in from out of town, that's part of the value statement that I make when I talk to them. When I do my initial discussion with them, we meet on Zoom. I tell them this is how I work. I very much embrace technology, leverage technology to their benefit, whether it be put together a 360 tour for them, do a Facebook, we can do a FaceTime. I can film it, just do a straight up film. So it is not annoying at all. I think that that's something that you have to find the agent that's going to give you that value.
I've been doing that since 2016. And I used to upload them to YouTube because people that were moving from Colorado. And how are you going to do this? How are you going to show them this house? Right. So I had something called a flip camera. This is how long I've been doing this. I had a flip camera. I would film the house and then I'd upload it to YouTube and then I'd send them the link so they could watch the house. If your agent is unwilling to do that, find another agent. Honestly,
110%. You should never feel like, that's absolutely a normal ask.
Absolutely.
That is a normal ask.
And if they get huffy, find another one.
Yep.
We don't need any prima donnas, I'm too good for that.
Nope. Patty says, I bought my home in 2020 for $285,000. I can now get $400,000.
Yeah. Yikes.
Good on you.
Yikes.
Nothing like home equity.
Yeah.
Build your wealth. And then Mr. Eves.
Yep. Scranton.
Thank you, Joe.
Scranton.
Well, and Joseph's on board too. There we go. I'm so glad
the Joes are on board.
On board. Krista says that things are still selling well. And I'm in Chester Springs near Westchester.
Yep. I saw that. My parents used to live in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and I actually stopped by their old house and took a picture in front of it. Yep.
Patty, I agree. I don't like open houses, bunch of nosy neighbors. I'm going to tell you right now, I am not, it is not a popular opinion amongst the other agents in my area, or a lot of agents in general. Okay. So here is my unfiltered opinion on open houses. The real reason why open houses happen is so that the listing agent can get more business.
Yep.
Houses do not sell at open houses. They don't.
I've had one sell in.
They do.
I got my license in 2007. One sold from an open house.
Yeah.
One.
It doesn't happen. The percentage shrinks every year. Why? Because you can do a video. There's, more and more agents are doing online videos of the houses. 360. I do a video on a 360 tour. The 360 tour is probably the most valuable thing because it's basically an open house that you can walk in while you're in your pajamas. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Without the smells and the annoying listing agent bugging you, be like, "Oh,
this is the bedroom.
This is the bathroom. Oh, there's a refrigerator. Oh, that's the kitchen. I didn't know that was the kitchen. There's a refrigerator." Like, you just don't want to be bothered with that stuff. So I'm not a fan of open houses. I think during the only exception to that was during COVID, because it was just a necessity to have, it made it so much more streamlined to get a lot of people in a short period of time. And you say, I'm going to have an open house for 4 hours. And then it's just because it was like one at a time, people lined up. I had No joke, Christina.
Mm.
2 open houses, 2 days, 160 people.
I do not,
It was literally a line out the door.
I don't ever want to
And
see that market ever again. It
I
was
never
so
wanna go through that.
anxiety filled. I hated it. You were like, "Oh, you must have loved that time." No, 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 mm-mm, no, I didn't. How
So
many
here's
offers we got to write? So stupid.
Yep. So here's the other thing, a little, if you're interviewing an agent to sell your home, if they're talking up open houses, you ask them, "What else you got?"
Mhm.
Because usually they say that because they don't have anything else to add, or they're trying to fill in the gaps because their value statement is too small. So it's they're trying to fill in the space. So they say, "What else you got?" Jane, thank you so much. Really, I appreciate you.
That
I
was
need to get
nice,
myself a
Jamie.
super chat button, man.
You got to get a super
Yeah,
chat button. You're getting some killer super chats here.
I am, guys. You guys are so great. This is making my day. For
Yeah.
sure. Listing agents get buyers. 110%. How does that help the seller sell their house? It doesn't. It feeds their business. Absolutely. And Joe
I
says
did a very old video, a very long time ago that says open house doesn't sell a house.
yeah.
Open house doesn't
So
sell a house.
here's the other thing. Okay, so if we're gonna go down that whole, it's not really tinfoil hat stuff, but this is legitimate. Open houses are super dangerous.
Oh yeah.
They're super dangerous. There you go. She's got the tinfoil.
Mhm.
So, and you know what I got? I got this. There we go. Got that one for you, Christina. So here's the thing. You open your house up. You've told complete strangers walking into your house. Complete
Mhm.
strangers. And as a
I
listing
have an
agent,
addiction problem. Have a little
listing
addiction
agent,
problem.
listing agent has to stay in the kitchen or the entryway to greet people and get people to sign so they have some idea who's coming in the front door. They're not following them around. These people are walking around unaccompanied through your house.
Yep.
Some of them are going into your cabinets.
Yep.
Some of them are unlocking windows.
Yep.
You're doing an open house at a vacant house. They're unlocking windows. I had an agent. I worked with an agent. She has retired a year and a half ago, but within the last 4 years, she had an agent. She was doing an open house. She was doing it by herself, and she got attacked.
Yeah.
She at the end of the open house, she was going around. She had uh, locked the doors. You went downstairs to check to see if the basement doors a walkout basement door to see if it was locked. And there was a guy and a lady knocking on the door trying to get in. And she said, "Oh, the open house is, you can go around," or I don't know, whatever she said. She wasn't on, but her spidey sense went off. She knew something was up. So she didn't open the door. And they kept back. And well, what they were trying to do, they're just trying to distract her because guess what? Somebody came in the front door and attacked her from behind. Now she did the whole she did a realtor's course. They have courses here for self-defense and stuff. I just carry mace.
I'm
And
in the South. We carry something else.
yeah, I know you do. But we can't do that here. But she was fine. But the safety, my own safety, the safety of the seller, the guy unlocks the window and then what comes, you don't check every window in the house and then they're breaking in the middle of the night. Yes, this seems outlandish, but does this stuff happen?
Absolutely.
It does. Why would you do that?
I almost got attacked.
House, schedule an appointment. If you want to see the house, schedule an appointment. Period. No looky-loos.
Well, I was my spidey senses went off. I had years ago, I used to buy Zillow leads, and I had met with a couple who was a Zillow lead that wanted to see a house right away. It just so happened it was right around the corner from my house. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can meet you there in about 10, 15 minutes. I was taking my own car, so it didn't matter.
Right.
First mistake I made, I pulled in the driveway and it allowed them to pull in behind me.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Again, wasn't thinking because it was right around the corner from my house. I mean, I'm telling you, I could have walked there if I wanted to. Didn't think about that. So they had me blocked in. The house was vacant. I didn't know that. It said occupied. When I got there, it was completely vacant. And then these people pull up. and it was a woman and 3 guys, grown men. Why do all of these people need to see the house together? And I don't know, like, like the little tingles on the back of your head are going off. And so I'm standing there and I had the little piece of paper and I opened the door. I'm like, you guys can go on through because it's a vacant house. I don't have to watch them, and they're like, oh, well, can you show us the house? And I'm like, well, it's not my listing. I could open it for you. You're more than welcome to come in and look at it. I don't know the floor plan. You're welcome to they kept trying to get me to get in the house. They kept trying to get me into the house. And then, so when they said, well, okay, well, we're done, they were waiting for me to close the door. And I'm like, okay. And I just stood at the door and I left it open and I stood at my car. And I'm standing at my car and I'm standing at my car and I was waiting for them to pull out because there was no way I was turning my back on those people. And I knew it was up. And that the next day in the MLS, they had the warning for all real estate agents. There was a group of people. And I was like, I should have turned them in. But I didn't know if I was freaking out for no reason. And I should have trusted my gut on that. But at least I didn't get myself killed.
You know what? Thank goodness you're here. Thank goodness nothing happened.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
I'm way too cute to die right now.
Jeepers. Yeah. Joe says you can do a digital open house and use the Oculus to walk through it. It's wild. Yeah. You know what? I have not, I haven't done that. I haven't done that. I haven't ventured into that world, but you know what? With the new, Apple, where they cost like $50,000 or something, for the
$500.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right on sale on Prime Day.
I know, right? That's true. That's true.
I'm gonna go check it out on Amazon. See what's on sale. I haven't done one of those yet.
Did an open house this weekend, knocked doors, set up for 2 hours, open house for 2 hours. One person. Yep. One person came. I listed my home in 2020 with the realtor who, same garage sale, people's casing your house. Yikes.
That's
David,
I read that. And I was like, ooh, that's a really good point. Because I didn't think about that. Because you're like moving out or decluttering your house. And that gives them the opportunity to know that you're moving. So you may not be there as often. That was a really good point. Thanks for sharing. Yeah,
that's, it unfortunately, you got to think this way.
Yeah,
you got to think this way because you're putting your house on the market and the success of that house sale depends on megaphone announcing to the world that it's for sale. Like that's what you need to do. But in the same note, you're megaphoning to the world that your house is for sale and you have pictures with all your stuff.
Your shtick.
Stuff. Your valuables? No, you take your valuables down. Take your pictures down. Take the stuff that I did that. I covered that in one of my videos. It's like if you have a picture that's valuable, you have a grandfather clock, you have anything, like you either take it out or cover it up.
Put that in a safety deposit box.
All that stuff. David says there was an attack outside my office at 7 a.m. I got punched in the face. Oh my God, really?
Who would punch David?
Oh, David.
I'm the sweetest teddy bear dude ever. Oh. No, nobody needs to be hitting David.
No. David is David. No, our David. Anyhow, hey Christina, thanks so much for popping on here and chatting. This was a lot of fun. Great conversation. Thank you for everyone that had contributed with your comments and everything else. Hey, if anybody's interested in more tinfoil hat stuff, check out Christina's channel.
Oh my God, who's that?
Oh my God. So
you can see all the faces of my hair colors.
So Christina talks about affordable housing, and it's pretty interesting going into everything from modular homes to manufactured homes to all kinds of stuff. So, and live streams every Sunday. So you can check out her channel. Highly, highly, highly recommend. If you need an agent, you can check out my channel, and in the description, there's going to be a form. You can fill that out. I will get back to you and set up a quick 30-minute call. Fill out this quick form, and we'll schedule a call, and then I'll connect you to one of the awesome agents that I know around the country. Get you matched up with somebody who's not going to just do an open house and call it a day, for sure. Yeah. And then I'm just going to do a real quick shameless plug because it's just, this is a fun passion project with my pal Jackie, and that's our podcast. So if anybody's looking for,
I listened to that today. By the way, you guys are funny. What a great show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's, you know what? We've been offline for about a month because of just a lot. Jackie's had a ton of stuff going on. I've had a ton of stuff going on, but we're recording on Thursday because it truly, we do it because we love it. And Jackie finds some crazy Reddit stories. She doesn't tell me about it. And then she reads it to me, we record it, and I comment, and it's all unfiltered. It is an adult show. And we just have some fun. So if you want a few laughs, and then we record it, it's on the podcast, all the podcast major networks. And then you can, or if you want to look at our mugs, you can watch it on the old YouTubes.
Patty, she's in Massachusetts.
What's that?
Patty wanted to know what
Massachusetts. Yes. Yes,
she's
ma'am.
My hometown.
Massachusetts.
My hometown.
Yes. Good old Massachusetts, down near Cape Cod.
Yeah.
I know. I don't have that Massachusetts accent.
Yeah, and apparently where I used to live is a volunteer HOA. I found that out from Jen. I'm like, no, we had an HOA when we were growing up. And she was like, yeah, but it was voluntary. You didn't have to join it. I'm like, well, if you wanted to go to the beach and go into the lake, you had to join it.
Yep.
So,
well, hey, thanks everybody for joining. And
this is fun. Thanks, Jen.
Everybody, hey, be nice to your neighbor. Take care of your neighbor. Check in on your neighbor. Do something nice for somebody today, this week. Be kind. Look before you walk across the street and all that stuff. So
look both ways before crossing. Don't look up when it's raining.
Yeah, don't look up when it's raining.
Don't talk
to Christina. Don't talk to strangers. All right, everybody. Have a good week. See ya.